Fertilizer also we need to create our state also. Okay, state as using the block we are going to create our state management also. In for our fertilizer we need to create the state event and the block. Okay, um, just do one thing here. Simply create and fertilizer from. Okay, okay. So before that we need to create our block for our fertilizer. Okay, now in the event. Okay, we are going to use equitable here. Okay, so for that we need to import the file we need to import the dependency in equitable. Okay, now first we for fertilizer, first of all we need to fetch our drop down. Okay, after that we are getting the recommendation. So for that, first thing we need to do, we need to extend it. We need to first event will be our fetch drop down. fertilizer error, failed to get the recommendation. Okay, and we get the status code. Okay, get recommendation and get fetch step done, block is done. Now go to our from. Here we need to design our from. Okay, we take some controller, because we need to enter our value like nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, pH, organic carbon, temperature, and a rainfall. And from the drop down we need to select crop, so we stored the selected crop in a string variable, selected state, and selected salt type in a string variable. Okay, in the init state we fetch the drop down. Okay, from our fertilizer block we fetch the drop down in our that means whenever the page is loaded, whenever the page is the first thing it will do, it will load the drop downs. Okay, okay, so now there will be a submit from. We need to send the data in a from data. If you know, we need to send data from our from. So this is the from data where we will need to send these things: crop, stage, soil types. If you see here, we need to send this data, right? We need to send this data. So similarly, if you see in our code, we are sending these data: crop, stage, soil types, and pk, pH, organic carbon, temperature, and rainfall. We need to send this data. So from the controller we get this data, or from the drop down we get this data, and we are sending this as a from data. If you see in get recommendation, we need to send the from data. Okay, now after submitting the data we get the recommendation, right? So that recommendation I simply display in a dialog. That is simply display one dialog. I create one method to display the dialog here. If you see here in this, okay, wait, okay, yeah, in this, here as you see here in this text we simply get the recommendation and we simply display in this text. Okay, this is just a simple design. Okay, you can design it by your own. Okay, now here in our build section, from the block consumer we add the listener. If the state is fertilizer recommendations success, we show the recommendation dialog. Okay, if it is not, and in the same recommendation dialog we simply display our error. Okay, if I run this screen, you will get an idea. Okay, because I don't want to repeat these things again and again in our from. If you see, this is our from. We don't want to repeat these things again and again, so I created one custom text field so that we can use it whenever in which sections we need in our from. Okay, sorry, there will be one problem in our main. We need to add our fertilizer. Okay, fertilizer block. Okay, now just again run the code. Okay, as you see, this drop down we use in 3 times, so I create one custom drop downs. Okay, so that you can use it in 3 times. Okay, so whatever data we get from after drop down loaded, we stored the crops in a list which is crops. We stored our stages that we get from after loading the drop down in a stage list. Similarly for the salt types, we store in the salt types. Okay, now we use this list and display in our drop downs. As you see here, display in our drop downs. Okay, so for displaying the list, we take one custom drop down so that we can use the same drop down in multiple times. So here, as you see, I used in 3 times. To make it a clean code, I use one custom drop down and I use it in several times. Okay, similarly for our text field, we simply add the controller. We simply here we used, I think, just wait a minute, controller label means these things that we get from the list. Okay, so this is our simple from. So now whenever we select on crop, if you see, our list is display here. This is our list. Okay, so if I select rice, if you see, stages are also here, soil types are also here. Okay, now if I add any value, okay, okay, there is some error because I think I didn't run the Python script here. Okay, I need to run the fertilizer app also, right? Okay, now just do one thing, just rerun the application again. So as you see here, that is a good sign, because whatever the error response we get from our backend, that is also displayed here. As I already mentioned, in our listener, if I get any error, it is also displayed in our show recommendation dialog also. Okay, so it is good. So okay, we get on fertilizer recommendation. Okay, here if you see, we get the fertilizer recommendation. So yeah, that's it. Our fertilizer recommendation and the disease detection, both machine learning part is done successfully. Next we are going to create our planning. Okay, we are going to create our planning. That means we are display our crop library from our database, and we create the tasks. Okay, we create some planning. Inside that planning also we are going to create the tasks. Okay, that will be a long video. Okay, so stay tuned for the next part. And if you are not watching the previous part, go to this video playlist and you can watch the whole video. Okay, thank you for now.